just when I thought I couldn't hate Vladimir Zelenskyy anymore, he goes to the White House and humiliates himself, and of course makes me hate him more. The fat little turd Zelenskyy, wearing his sweatsuit to meet President Trump. Look, this guy just learned. You out there, the world, we were all just treated to an FAFO moment. You know what that stands for? F around, find out. Well, Zelenskyy just FAFO'd one too many times. Now, remember, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened here. I mean, Zelenskyy just gave a master class. Like every foreign policy class, every diplomacy class, every foreign relations degree that you would have to earn throughout this country and universities should play this interview, this moment, this conversation between Zelenskyy, Trump, and J.D. Vance forever as an example of just how not to conduct foreign diplomacy. And what did I tell you all? What did I say to you, last week? I told you that one of the biggest things that nobody was talking about is the fact that Zelenskyy is not qualified. Zelenskyy has been propped up by the media. I mean, he's basically Joe Biden. He's AOC. This is an unqualified person. He's not a statesman. He doesn't have any pedigree, any capability, no talents to actually run a country and be the president at any time, much less during a time of quote unquote war. And yet the media's treated him like he's a serious person, like he's some great leader, like he's Jesus Christ coming to save Ukraine. And Ukraine, of course, represents democracy. We can't let Ukraine fall, except for the times that we overthrew the Ukrainian government ourselves with our CIA operations under the Barack Obama administration, for example, and even before that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to rehash it all. You can go back. There's an episode a week or 2 weeks ago where I get into the nitty-gritty, the details of our history in Ukraine. And I tell you, Ukraine is not an independent country. But I'm not doing that today. We're going to focus on what happened in the White House because it's a disgrace. And, let me say this too. Well, let's start here. I mean, just remember this. There's so much to say. Okay. Hold on. Okay, first things first. What was supposed to happen Friday today, as I'm talking to you, recording this? What was supposed to happen at the White House meeting? It was the mineral deal. Zelenskyy and Trump were supposed to sign a deal, and it was supposed to happen. It was planned out. It was advertised. They were supposed to go in there, do this meeting in front of the media, conclude it, and then sign the paperwork, this deal that would grant us partial mineral rights to, these rare earth minerals in Ukraine. That, by the way, just a week before, Zelenskyy botched, because what did he do? He went and met with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Vice President J.D. Vance. They had this meeting, and they told him, hey, this is what we're looking to do with the mineral rights and so on and so forth. And Zelenskyy to them in private in the meeting said, okay, yeah, that sounds good. I can't do this myself because I've got to go and meet with, the parliament or whatever we have over there, and they've got to sign off on this. So I can't sign the paperwork today, but I do want to make a deal. This sounds good. And then what did he do? He went out to the media and he took a dump on America. He said, I was never going to sign that. This is terrible. The United States actually wants something in return for spending $350 billion of their dollars wasted on this futile war in Ukraine. So that was strike, like 50, but strike one for these purposes. So then the fat little turd returns to Washington, D.C. They've ironed out this mineral deal. They're supposed to sign it. And Zelenskyy blows up this chance. And I got to be honest, there's a question I want to ask, and the question is this. Did he intentionally sabotage this meeting? He met with Democrats, even Lindsey Graham, but he met with Democrats before this. And by the way, Zelensky's been hanging out with Democrats for so long. I mean, it's no wonder he's mentally ill. He's mentally deranged. He's not dealing with those people anymore. He's dealing with sane people, with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, do you remember that? Well, of course you remember. I don't know if Zelensky's going to survive this, by the way. I'm serious. Already there are calls for him to resign. We know he's not going to hold elections. But, there's been calls in Ukraine for him to resign. And that may be the only way this gets done. Because obviously we can't deal with Zelenskyy in this case. Zelenskyy is a disaster. Is a disaster. So anyway, so Zelenskyy meets with Democrats before this. And I'm going to play the clip that started this. The media is out there saying a lot of bullcrap, right? And the left and many European leaders are saying Zelensky's a hero in this situation and Trump and JD Vance are bullies. That's bullcrap. That's bullcrap. Not only is it evident in this discussion, the short 6 to 10 minutes in which this vigorous debate that everyone's talking about took place, not only is it clear in those moments that Zelenskyy is just out of his element, and the JD Vance and Trump, I mean, I was celebrating. I sent on my buddy a message. I said, this is one of the most important and significant moments in American history right now that we're watching take place right now, with JD Vance and Donald Trump pushing back on Zelenskyy, because Zelenskyy in the past has come and he hung out with Joe Biden, and he sits there and the media fawns all over him, and he's allowed to I mean, there's no conversation or debate. It's just he shows up in his little tracksuit, and everyone says, "Yeah, whatever you want, Zelenskyy. You want $200 billion, you want $300 billion. We're there for you, buddy. Anything you want." And there's no conversation about the lives lost. There's no conversation about reality. It's just, this is just going to go on forever. We'll just keep funding you. What's the end game? That was never asked. And Trump comes in here. He's a master. And of course, that's the point too. You're putting Zelenskyy, who has zero experience doing anything except shaking his ass around on stage, dancing and doing, mediocre comedy, that you just put him in a room with two geniuses. And I mean that. Donald Trump and JD Vance. And JD Vance, by the way, just proved that basically if he wants the nomination for president in 2028, it's his. And I've never seen, there's something else I've observed, which is Donald Trump seems to have hold JD Vance in very, very high regard. You know why I say that? Because he doesn't cut him off. He lets him talk freely. He invites him to these things. I mean, what a breath of fresh air. You didn't see this type of thing happen with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You rarely saw them together. I mean, they were both brain dead. She because she's just retarded, and him because he had cognitive decline, which, by the way, Jake Tapper's come out with a book. I don't know if you've heard about this. Jake Tapper, CNN, right? He covered up Joe Biden's mental decline. I've got a clip I'll play later when we get to this about it. And now he's written a book about how all these people, these terrible people out there, were covering up Joe Biden's age and health. They were doing it. He has asked all these people, and he is shocked by what he learned. All these people, not him, not Jake Tapper. These people have no shame. They don't have any shame, do they? So he's a laughingstock. Jake Tapper's a joke. So that's what he's doing, his latest effort to rewrite the narrative, his own place in history, become a hero, and, of course, earn millions of dollars in the meantime. So anyway, let's get back to Zelenskyy. F around, find out, buddy. Before I get into that, let me just play something humorous first. So, you know what I love about Trump and what you love about Trump? It's that he says what needs to be said and what we're all thinking. I mean, we're sitting here watching like, this is what I would say, or more importantly, this is what should be said. And he says it every single time. It's incredible. But here he is when he actually met the fat little turd Zelenskyy. Watch this exchange. He rolls up to the White House.
Ready clothes? How are you? Ready shut?
He's all dressed up today.
President Trump, what's your message to Vladimir Putin, sir? President Trump.
Anyway, you get it. Hey, look at this guy. He's all dressed up today. That's what we all want to say to this guy. You turd, you're coming here to speak to the President of the United States. Ask for us to fund. And actually what Zelenskyy wants, which is preposterous, is he wants us to send troops. He keeps moving the goalpost, by the way. This guy is trying. I mean, this is a disgusting thing. I mean, these are not good faith negotiations. I mean, but he's learned from the best. He's been hanging out with Democrats who are sickos, right? They make promises they never intend to fulfill. And they go out and use the media to their advantage. And this is what this little puke is doing. He goes and plays to the media against Donald Trump. And this is why I wonder, did Democrats put him up to sabotaging these negotiations? And by the way, the media is out there saying Donald Trump is Putin's best friend. I didn't even pull the clip, but CNN, they're out there talking about how, the hags that are on there, all these women on these left-wing programs are the ugliest women I've ever seen. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. I'm sorry if that offends some of you out there, but you're on TV. You should look a certain way. And these are just total hags. I mean, I can't even look at them. My eyes want to bleed when I look at these women on CNN. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But these hags on CNN were joking about how Vladimir Putin was pulling out the vodka and they're taking shots of water. But by the way, that is very racist, can we say? It's like black people are pulling out the fried chicken. I mean, what is this? You can say what you want about the Russians and be offensive all day? Come on. Where are you, little socialists? Where's your empathy, your heart? You can't say that. That's a stereotype. Only about white people in America can you do that. Anyway, so they're cracking jokes, seriously, I guess, about how, they're taking shots of vodka in celebration. But, the best thing that happened for Vladimir Putin was what? It was these negotiations falling apart. Who is responsible for these negotiations falling apart? It's Zelenskyy. So if anybody is Putin's puppet, it's Zelenskyy. So Putin can thank Zelenskyy for what just took place here. And I'll remind you again, they had a 40-minute meeting before it went off the rails. And so he was almost across. This is what makes it so much more humiliating for Zelenskyy. He got through 40 minutes of this thing and almost survived. And then for some reason, he decided to go poke J.D. Vance in the eye. So remember that when you're seeing these clips float around again. That's not how the meeting started. That's what it devolved into in the end, and it was instigated by Zelenskyy. So yeah, sure. If Putin is celebrating, and I'd be celebrating if I was Putin, because look, the worst thing that can happen to Ukraine is that we remove our support completely. That we don't negotiate as the most powerful and formidable nation in this world on behalf of Ukraine. And, I hate to say it again, but part of me, I say, okay, look, if this is going to continue this way, I'm all on board with what Trump's doing. And go ahead, Zelenskyy. We're done. We're not negotiating. We're not giving you any more money. So let's watch Europe, who won't even pay, 3% of their NATO, 3%, to NATO. Oh, let's watch them go and put boots on the ground. And I heard Donald Trump in this exchange with the prime minister of the commie Prime Minister Starmer of the UK. He made a quip, oh, can you take on Russia on your own? And the answer obviously is no. None of these European countries could take Putin on and win, even if they combine forces. So the point is, this guy has no leverage whatsoever. And so, FAFO, you do not, here's the lesson. It's very simple. You as one of the weakest nation, as the weakest nation at the table, do not go into a meeting with the most powerful nation in the world and insult them. If you do decide to F around, you're going to find out, and that's what happened here. But anyway, here is the moments where Zelenskyy killed it. Right? So remember this. So 40 minutes he survived, and you're going to hear him sabotage this meeting.
Get this thing done. You want me to be tough? I could be tougher than any human being you've ever seen. I'd be so tough. But you're never going to get a deal that way. So that's the way it goes. All right, one more question. Yeah, please.
Hey, I want to respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now the President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact line?
2015.
2014.
2014 and
Well,
2014.
2014.
Yeah. So
I was,
he
I
killed.
was not here.
Yeah, but,
That's exactly
but
right.
yes, but during 2014 till 2022, yeah, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversation, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange.
So that's the moment that initiates all of this, okay? And it continues to heat up. I mean, you know, you have Zelenskyy who, you know, is basically giving a little history lesson there. I don't have a problem per se. The issue, by the way, is that he's trying to litigate all this in front of the media. So, you know, during this media that is public, you know, you're not hashing out the negotiations with Putin, right? That's going to happen in private. And Zelenskyy insists on trying to basically, he'll continue to put his foot down. You know, Trump says, we'll see. He's vague about stuff. And Zelensky's out there basically communicating to Putin and other people that, no, we are not going to sign a deal unless we get all of our land back. I mean, he's giving these ultimatums. So watch this exchange between Trump and Zelenskyy.
Your country is in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No. You've done a lot of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not winning.
I know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of us.
Mr. President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said
stupid
thank you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment,
You
and you
voted
men
for
are
your
brave,
president.
but they had to use our military.
What about West?
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me.
equipment,
You invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak.
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
Yeah, he's exactly right. I made that point, you know, in the big Ukraine episode I just recently did. This war would have been over in 2 weeks if we hadn't come in there and poured all this money in and prolonged it. And this war should have happened 3 years ago. What's happening right now? You know, that's the gist of it. So this fell apart. And here, I mean, immediately after this meeting, after all this stuff took place, Trump put out this Truth Social post. And I'll read it if you're just listening. We had a very meaningful meeting in the White House today. Much was learned that could never be understood without conversation under such fire and pressure. It's amazing what comes out through emotion, and I've determined that President Zelenskyy is not ready for peace if America is involved because he feels our involvement gives him a big advantage in negotiations. I don't want advantage. I want peace. He disrespected the United States of America and its cherished Oval Office. He can come back when he's ready for peace. And he's spot on. And by the way, I just didn't have time to pull together all of these different clips today. You can go out there and find these yourself. There are a million clips of these exchanges. That is not even the worst. He gets into a J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance sets him straight and talks about how he's ungrateful. And that's the point. This guy keeps coming to the United States of America. He's not grateful for what we've given him. He cannot win this war. He refuses to address reality. And he just has an expectation, like a spoiled child, that's not even ours, an expectation that we just fund this forever, even though we can't win, that this is somehow our responsibility, and it's not. I'm sorry, you're the leader of a weak nation, Ukraine, and you lost. So you can either accept our help now to end this war, and maybe you give up a percentage of the land that they occupy. 20% is what they have, so let's get that down. Let's get you the best deal we can with Russia. And here's the stupidest thing about Zelenskyy again. This mineral deal gives him everything he actually wanted because he wants security assurances. Russia is not going to invade Ukraine if the United States of America has a vested economic interest there. And so all he had to do was keep his mouth shut, show some gratitude for once, maybe put on a suit, be dignified, make it through this meeting, sign the paperwork for the mineral rights, and he would be well positioned in the future. Because we would be, it's obvious. We have a vested interest now in Ukraine if Putin's going to invade, because we actually are getting something out of the country. We want those mineral rights. We want those minerals. We need them. You know, we're oil rich and other things. We don't have these particular resources. So anyway, and I got to ask, why don't Democrats want a peace deal, huh? Is it just corruption? You want the gravy train to keep going forever over there? Or what? Or is it simply because you don't want Trump to make the deal? Is that it? And this is why Democrats are so dangerous. They simply oppose anything and everything Trump does or says. And of course, Trump has been right on virtually everything, especially the big things that matter in this country. And the Democrats simply oppose it because they don't like him. And that's what's amazing to see. The media, Democrats out there taking the side of Zelenskyy. Some of these European nations taking the side of Zelenskyy in this meeting, when Zelensky's the one who's responsible for getting all these people dead. Insane. It's insane. So there's already fallout about this. Secretary of State Rubio, immediately after this, they huddled together. They kicked Zelenskyy out like a stray dog, by the way, which is a beautiful thing. He left in humiliation, as he should have been. And this is what we've wanted to see for years. All during the Biden administration, we're tired of being disrespected by this clown, this fool, this former mediocre comedian that had no sense being the president of Ukraine. But Rubio said the U.S. State Department is now terminating U.S. support of Ukraine energy grid restoration. You realize through USAID, USAID, which we've now discovered to be one of the biggest sources of waste and fraud in the government, or at least the most prominently pointed out. This is the one that paid, X amount of dollars for a trans comic book in, Venezuela or some South American country, and so on and so forth. Well, we spent hundreds of millions to keep Ukraine's lights on. And so Rubio's saying FAFO. F around, find out. Now we're not paying for that either. Short turd. And he's right to behave. He's right to do that. He's right to do that. There's another point. Oh, here's the last point I want to make on this. To me, this Zelenskyy meeting in the Oval Office, it's like the emperor has no clothes. This is akin to the moment that Joe Biden debated Donald Trump. Because until then, even though we all knew he was experiencing cognitive decline, the media was persistently propping up Joe Biden, right, as propagandists. They were covering up his mental decline. They were telling us, even after we witnessed it with our own eyes, just how bad a shape he was in, they'd tell us, no, he's actually brilliant. He's wonderful. All these people say he's great. The Jake Tappers out there now writing books about how it was covered up. We're covering it up themselves, of course. And then he did that debate, and the American people saw just how bad it was, because he went up against Trump and he couldn't hold his own, and it was humiliating for him. Well, that's what happened here, and it's very similar to the reason why. Zelensky's been propped up just like Joe Biden had during his presidency by the media throughout the world, frankly. The left-leaning propagandist media that creates these narratives that are not true. So in Joe Biden's case, it's yes, he's a capable president who's experienced. He's running the country. We knew that wasn't true. With Zelenskyy, it's the same thing, except he's not experiencing cognitive decline because of age. He's just an imbecile. He's an imbecile that has no experience and no business being the president of Ukraine. But we've been told that Zelenskyy is this charming person, this wonderful person, a hero. I mean, he's the greatest person ever born next to Jesus Christ, if you're a Christian. Right? That's what we've been told. And now we got to see it for our own eyes. Just like Joe Biden entered the ring to debate Donald Trump face to face, and the American people were appalled by what they saw. The American people were appalled by what they witnessed in the Oval Office today. It turns out that Zelenskyy isn't a genius. It turns out that Zelenskyy is exactly what we've been saying he was. We said that Joe Biden was suffering mental decline, that he wasn't running the White House, and the media said the opposite. We said that Zelenskyy is inexperienced, that Zelenskyy is a little turd, he's ungrateful, he's coming in here, we don't like the way he treats America, the disrespect he shows us, the expectations, how spoiled he is, that he's entitled to American money and resources to fight a war that has nothing to do with us and is not in our interest whatsoever. It's all just, frankly, benevolent. It's generosity on our part. And the media says, no, 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 no. So that's what we saw. And so the emperor has no clothes now. And hopefully what will happen, I don't know that the media will change their tune. I don't know. So anyway, I don't have a big expectation the media is going to do what they did with Joe Biden and address reality. But we'll see. We'll see. You know, Lindsey Graham did a funny thing. Lindsey Graham met with Zelenskyy in the morning. You know, they I won't say it. That's not appropriate for many of my audience. Anyway, I was going to say they, you know, gave each other some favors, you know. But anyway, so they met and they, you know, rubbed each other's backs. And then after that, after this Oval Office encounter, this disaster of a meeting because of Zelenskyy, he came out before the media and said, you know, that was unacceptable. So now he was, you know, Zelenskyy was Jesus Christ to Lindsey Graham before, and now he's the devil apparently. So there's some big stuff happening behind the scenes, but I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much more of this we're willing to tolerate. That's two strikes. I think that Trump, I mean, if Zelenskyy basically just does exactly what was supposed to happen today, if he shuts his mouth, puts on a suit, grovels, thanks America, and accepts the deal and doesn't create any other problems, he'll survive this. But you know, if he does, but there's no reason to believe he's going to do that because he's played these shenanigans now. This is a part of who he is. And the point is, Zelensky's not really doing anything. He's controlled by the opposition. He's controlled by other people. This guy who was an actor his whole life suddenly becomes the president of Ukraine. You think that this guy has a bona fides in that particular world? He doesn't. So that's why I wonder: did Zelenskyy sabotage this on purpose? Were the Democrats behind this? Did they tell him to go in there and talk about this and bring this stuff up? Were they behind what happened here? Because it was in Zelenskyy and Ukraine's best interest to have this meeting go well and sign the mineral deal and to end this war. That is actually in Ukraine's best interest. And yet the Democrats are pitching it like that's the worst thing that could happen to Ukraine. You see, Democrats have this twisted worldview, and you'll see them out there on social media, young people in particular, deranged Democrats who are just unfortunately victims of indoctrination and you know, maybe just a few, you know, too few brain cells, but they're out there attacking Trump. I mean, imagine that, taking the side of Ukraine over the president of the United States and America. But that's what they're doing. So I just want to say this very clearly to you Democrats out there, to be clear. I know that you think that Zelensky's the good guy here and that Trump and Vance are the bad guys. You think that, you know, it was in Ukraine's best interest and Zelensky's best interest for that outcome to happen today. You think that he stood his ground and he's the hero and is going back to Ukraine a hero. He's not. He's a disgusting person because he's going to get more people killed. You can't win the war and you're throwing people at the, in the front lines to go and die for no reason whatsoever. And so Democrats out there that think that Zelensky's a hero, you've got it backwards. Trump and Vance are trying to do the right thing and end this war as it should have ended 3 years ago. None of these people should be dead. All the 80,000 to 1 million, whatever the figure is, whatever you believe it is, it's too many people and they're dead because this war shouldn't have started to begin with. It should have ended. But Democrats supported this to save democracy or whatever stupid little bumper sticker slogan they came up with. And people are dead because of you and your support of this, because of your rigid ideology. The realists, the pragmatists out there like myself, like Trump, like people who opposed this war from the start, who wanted to see it end, who didn't support spending $350 billion US and sending arms and everything else over there, jets and so on and so forth. We actually are the good guys because we didn't want people to die. They're dead because of you. So I'll just say that.
You have to stay healthy and well at times like this. You know that I often have suffered from mobility issues and now I don't. Part of my lifestyle is Native Path collagen. So Native Path's collagen formula is made with ingredients that are scientifically developed to increase bone mineral density, support tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all of these benefits? So right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/daily clout, you can stock up on Native Path Collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee. You can try it risk-free today. It is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners, and it's third-party tested for heavy metals, which makes sure that it is pure and safe. It's flavorless. You can add it to anything. I add it to my oatmeal. You can add it to coffee or smoothies. Its formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes without clumping. And the best part is Native Path is offering amazing bundle deals, 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice, and they offer an 800 number. You can ask any question. A real person is waiting to help. You can join a private Facebook community. I love these people. Share recipes, success stories. So that's getnativepath.com/daily clout and start your experience of transformation today.
All right, let's just jump into something else. The Epstein Theater. Let's get into that. I've got a lot to cover. You know, I want to make sure the most informed audience out there about these big issues. And you know, I could do a show for 6 hours, but, you know, we don't have 6 hours and you don't have 6 hours. And so let's just move on here. Epstein Theater is what I'm calling it. I mean, you know, speaking of, so if this Zelenskyy situation was a disaster for Zelenskyy, which it was, this Epstein rollout of the Epstein files was a disaster. Look, you know me. I'm a big Make America Great Again guy. I'm a Trump guy. I support his nominations. Most of them have been my clients in the past, so I have skin in this game, actually. But what Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, did here was a disaster. So you have to remember, so people have been clamoring for these Epstein files for a long time. Jeffrey Epstein, of course, everyone knows. He was involved in sex trafficking of minors, right? And now there are different theories out there. Some of you will say they're not theories, Drew. That's a fact. But people believe that, you know, Ghislaine Maxwell, who he hooked up with, which basically which was his pimp, right? Who ran this stuff for him. You know, her dad was British. He was involved with Mossad, which of course is Israeli intelligence. And they believe that, you know, Epstein was tied up with Mossad and maybe the CIA, maybe other intelligence agencies as well around the world. And then, of course, ultimately this sex trafficking stuff was used as blackmail against American politicians and other powerful people by the deep state, right, to control, right? So if it was Israel, it's because, you know, if they don't do what Israel wants in the U.S., well, you know, Bill Clinton slept with this 12-year-old on a plane because of Epstein, and we have video of it, and we're going to show that to the world if you don't give Israel what it wants, or what the deep state wants, or, you know, what Ukraine wants, right? I mean, that's basically the theory here. But anyway, all that aside, the point is here, this is horrendous. We know that there are, we don't even know how many, but there are many, many, many victims in this Epstein saga, right? Women, underage girls who were sexually abused by adult men. And we want justice for them, and we want the perpetrators of this to go to prison for the rest of their lives. And we understand that the people on this list have a vested interest in not being revealed because they're powerful people, perhaps the Clintons, right? Bill Clinton, people like that. Lefties will say Donald Trump because he hung out with Epstein. Of course, Donald Trump famously kicked Epstein out of his Mar-a-Lago club and wouldn't let him back in when he kind of found out and realized what was going on. It was by the early 2000s that people were keen. They really knew what Epstein was up to. So anyway, all these people involved. And this is one of those things that they promised to release. And on, let's see, Thursday, you know, Pam Bondi went on Fox News with what's his face, Jesse Waters, and he pressed her about it, and she said, you know, I'm going to try to release them tomorrow at noon or something. So she did. So she had these documents sent to her from the people that control these documents. Apparently, it's the FBI field office in New York. So, it's located in Manhattan there, the Southern District of New York. And they sent her the files, and she put them in a binder for a bunch of social media conservative influencers that were out there taking photos like they were special with you. I mean, it was a bad look. I'm sorry. I know it's tempting to be that way. You feel special. We're the media now. All that stuff's fine, but it's just weird. It's like these are victims of horrific crimes that we're trying to get to the bottom of. Celebrating the binder that we finally have it. Like, it's not yours as a social media influencer, as a chosen. That belongs to the American people. And what made it worse, of course, is that within those binders was nothing extraordinary. So it looks like this whole thing's a scam. And it looks like, and I'm not saying she's doing this, and I don't think this is the case, but it looks like, okay, Pam Bondi's caught up in covering this up as well. Like, you lied to us. You built this, you hyped this up, you said you were going to release all this information, and in those binders that you gave to the American people via these social media influencers on the right with, 1 million followers on X, well, there was nothing new in it. It was the same flight logs that we've been talking about for, 5, 6, 7 years. It literally didn't tell us anything. It's stuff that was already out there. So it was a big bust, a big nothing burger. And so obviously that upsets a lot of people because it looks like you're reneging on a promise. And now Pam Bondi quickly put out, for damage control. I mean, she wrote to new FBI director Kash Patel, and she, put out a memo saying that she found out that the FBI office that said they were sending her all the documents withheld thousands of pages. So as if she was set up. But in any case, this is a big mistake. I mean, do you not understand? There are a couple takeaways here. One is that we understand now that the FBI is probably the most corrupt organization in the federal government. All these people quitting and leaving is a good thing, by the way, because this is happening everywhere. These are the types of people that we're trying to root out. The people that would set up Pam Bondi, that would try and humiliate the Trump administration, and that most importantly are still protecting the perpetrators of the Epstein crimes. So now we're in a pickle. When are we going to get these documents? When is it going to come out? When are we going to learn anything? And more importantly, we don't want to just learn. We want people to go to jail. If you're involved in the sexual assault of an underage girl, if you committed a crime, we want you to face the penalty for that crime. We don't want you to get away with it anymore. But of course, we understand there are powerful people, so powerful that they would see to it that Jeffrey Epstein was killed once he was finally in prison, and cover up that as well. Oh, the video cameras just happened to go out on the cell holding the most important prisoner in this entire facility. Oh, wow. Did you know? Oh, I can't. And then he hanged himself. We didn't hear it. We didn't know. The guards didn't know. Nobody got fired over it. So it's a big problem. So, are we going to figure out? Are we going to find out? Are we going to get these actual Epstein files, or is it going to continue to be, because, few things will erode trust in the Trump administration than this. Because everyone understands there's an emotional value attachment to it. It's a big deal. And a lot of people want to know what happened. They want justice for what happened. And if it starts to look like Trump isn't going to release them, via Pam Bondi, via his administration, this is gonna put a little bit of a black eye on the Trump administration. And of course, there's no doubt in my mind, this is sabotage by the FBI, entrenched left-leaning ideologues that are still in the FBI, but these FBI agents need to be erased. I mean, there are reports now that evidence is being destroyed across the board related to all sorts of things, whether it's the assassination attempt on Trump, whether it's the Epstein files, all of these things that we elected Trump to get to the bottom of, to root out the corruption that we're talking about. Well, we're finding out, according to reports, that FBI agents have been destroying evidence. These people need to face the penalty for treason. These people need to be arrested. And, people have asked, why was there not a raid of this office in New York? As soon as we learned this why was there no attempt to gather this? How much evidence has been destroyed? Can we get it back? They're destroying servers. They're doing like Clinton did. Clinton got off scot-free. So this is just not a great look. All right, that's the point here. Well, March is almost here. I can't believe it. How are you doing with your New Year's resolutions? I'm doing great with mine. Buffer by the day, but that was mine. Focus on my well-being, and the foundation of well-being is what? It's a good night's sleep. So if I could do one thing to improve my sleep and overall well-being, guess what? I'm doing it. It's the taking the number one mineral for that, which helps you on so many levels personally, by the way. So I'm talking about magnesium. Many of you maybe are already taking magnesium. I'm talking about specifically Magnesium Breakthrough by Optimizers. It's got 7 different forms of magnesium in the supplement. They're involved in over 600 different biochemical reactions in the body. Every function in your body gets upgraded when you take magnesium, by the way. Quality of sleep, brain function, metabolism, stress levels. And let's face it, even if you're not, your 2025 resolution, if you maybe one isn't to focus on your health like it has been mine, a good sleep is necessary for accomplishing anything day to day. So do yourself a favor, make Magnesium Breakthrough part of your daily routine this year so you can get the vitality you need to conquer your dreams. Go to buyoptimizers.com/dailyclout. Enter promo code dailyclout to get 10% off any order. Again, that's buyoptimizers.com/dailyclout, promo code dailyclout. So look, I mean, I just give it to you straight. If it's the Trump administration doing something, you know where I am. I'm a pro-Trump guy, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend like everything's great all the time. This was a huge mistake, and people need to look into this. This can't be repeated too often. And I understand, but look, I mean, we have to learn a lesson. Maybe there was naivete involved. Like you actually thought the FBI was going to comply with this, that they were going to give you all the Epstein documents. So hopefully they are adjusting to this and they're realizing we have a significant problem in the FBI. And thankfully you do have Kash Patel. You've got Dan Bongino going in there now, and they're the right people for this job, but it needs to happen quick. There is no greater threat to the United States and the individual citizen than the FBI in this country. There's a great write-up about this that just gets into the FBI and these intelligence agencies. I mean, Bill Barr, for example, he was a great disappointment, right? I mean, it's just wild. Bill Barr's dad, this? Bill Barr's dad, Donald Barr. Well, he was president at the founding of the CIA, and it's interesting as well that you've actually got whose daughter? You got. What am I trying to think of here? James Comey, right? His daughter's, working at the Southern District of New York, I believe. She's been involved in many of these cases. So there are issues going on there, and that place should be the number one target. So, I mean, I hope Kash Patel, I don't think I have to tell these guys this, but, the great Dan Bongino, who, by the way, is sacrificing for his country. God bless you, Dan. Thank you. There's your number one target. I don't think you'll find more corruption concentrated in the FBI than you will, I mean, in any one specific location than that office there in New York. So we got to go get them. We got to go get them. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. I want to explain something. You know that Doge email request that went out, right? By the way, I mean, this, if you're watching, I don't know. I mean, I'm doing this live. I don't take breaks and stuff, and splice it together. I'm sweating my ASS off right now. I'm in this office. We're having like a 70-something degree day out of here. And once again, it happens to be like 3:30 by the time I got around to finally being able to do this podcast. And I got one window that's not covered in this outdoor office I use now, and it's just pouring in. So if you see this white thing behind me, I mean, I've already moved this. Yeah, it's a green screen. People put green screens behind them so you can just put whatever else you want. But, my face here, because the sunlight's pouring in here like, it's trying to set a fire Unbelievable. So this stuff just, it drives me crazy. You guys are like, Drew, figured out. I'm sick of you talking about it. Whatever. I mean, I'm literally just drenched in sweat right now. Drenched in sweat. But anyway, so look, I got a buddy, for example, whose daughter worked in one of the national parks, and she was just beside herself because the hold on a second. I just got to do something here. I don't know what's going on. It's like making it worse. All these lights. You have no idea what goes on with these stupid podcasts, by the way. I have no idea. I just got like half my face, you can't even see because of the sun in here, I guess. But anyway, so anyway, she works for the national park. Hang on. I got to fix this. One sec. Oh man, one day we'll get this thing figured out. I just had another client, by the way, Hung Cao. He's going to be going into the administration. Trump put out a congratulations. I think he's Undersecretary of the Navy. I think that's what the position was. But anyway, I can barely breathe. And, that's the thing. I don't want you to think this isn't important to me. Honestly, I mean, if I could do it, the only thing I would do is this podcast. But unfortunately, I mean, I'm blessed, but I happen to be a publicist, and that's how I am used to making my living, right? And so it's just, I thought things might quiet down when Trump got, reelected, but I've just, going a million miles per hour, still fighting the war, or whatever else. But so anyway, it's just comical. Drew, shut up and get on with the show. Okay. You're right. So anyway, I'm going to keep following what's going on there with this Epstein stuff, but that's just my 2 cents. I mean, it was a joke watching these social media influencers hold their binders up smiling only to learn that it was like a gimmick. I mean, there was no substance to it. There was nothing in it. I mean, basically it was like we got, what was that old show on MTV? Punked? Was it an MTV show? Was it Punked? Yeah, I felt like I got punked. Did you feel like you got punked? Like, oh yeah, tomorrow I'm going to release all this, the first, tranche of the Epstein files. Okay, hoorah, we can't wait. And then you get it, and there's nothing in it. It's like a joke on the American people. And then, Friday, it's like, well, okay, I've demanded that by 9 a.m. or whatever it was, Pam Bondi said, the rest of those files are going to be on my desk, delivered from the. So it just looks like you have no control over the FBI now, right? It's not a good look. It's not a good look as Attorney General. And so this is a problem we need to address ASAP. But the point is, okay, so you remember the Doge, and I'll tell you the story about my buddy, but so the Doge requested that all federal employees deliver an email, right, that listed 5 accomplishments they had made in a week or something like that. And a couple stories. So one, I have one friend whose husband has a position. I mean, he's a former fighter pilot, but he has a position in the government. And his superiors told him not to comply, told all of them not to comply. And they said it was stupid. And look, there's a lot of, dick swinging. That's the only term I can think of, in the government, especially with military types and so on and so forth. You don't tell us what to do. And of course, nobody's saying those 5 things you accomplish, you have to tell people some kind of, top secret information. I mean, so that's not a good reason, but a lot of people are going to get fired because of their superiors who are telling them not to do it. So people have a choice to make, but this has always been about compliance. It's not about the 5 things you did. It really is not about the 5 things you did. We know the government doesn't do anything. We know that 90% of the people that work for the government are lazy and worthless. I'm sorry. It's true. You simply have a job that we don't need, and you know it. Some of you listening, maybe you know somebody, or even you yourself, you work for the government. It's a sweet gig. You hear people talk about it. I have I have friends in the private sector work for these banks or these tech companies, and they know they're getting paid and they shouldn't be getting paid. They're making, $400,000 a year, and they work like 4 hours a day, and they laugh about it. Yeah, I can do anything I want. Good for you. But that job might come to an end, and it should, especially if I'm paying for it. So anyway, the reason he's asking for these 5 is to root out this type of corruption. It's to root out the ideologues. Okay, you're such a rabid ideologue that you can't even comply with this because you're determined to make sure that you give the middle finger to Trump and Doge, that you won't reply to this email and send 5 things? Great. Well, now we know to fire you. That's what that's always been about. It's not rocket science. But I've got another friend who's got a daughter who works at the Park Service, and we all love the Park Service. You've heard me talk about on this show recently about how the left is weaponizing, stories from the Park Service, to try and generate some kind of opposition to Donald Trump firing federal employees and laying them off and giving them 8-month severance. Very generous, as I've said as well. But people around here are getting fired at the Park Service, of the national parks. And, this person's beside herself. She loves working there, I guess, and she wants some kind of encouragement or whatever about, what's going to happen to her in her future. And I told them, I said, look, I can't point you to anybody I know in my world, even deep in the Trump world, that can answer that question. Nobody can tell you what's going to happen, what the plan is. It's just, we're getting rid of waste. People are going to lose their jobs and they'll go out and find new ones just like I did. So yeah, it sucks. But this is the thing. Government employees have an attitude of entitlement. You don't have that in the private sector. You understand you could get fired. You understand that it's related to performance. It's related to, the success of the company and so on and so forth. So it's now, you never assume in the private sector. And in fact, in the private sector, you're constantly looking for a new job. I mean, this is the thing. You don't have retention anymore. Part of it's because companies don't treat their employees as well as they used to. That's true. But it's also because you're looking for a better deal and there's competition out there. So you don't work 20 years for the same company. Your company hopping constantly because you want to make a bigger salary. You want to do better for yourself. You want to rise up the ranks, and it's not always at the one company. It's going to happen elsewhere. So you jump from company to company as you rise through the ranks and get better opportunities for yourself. Government employees don't look at it that way. There's no competition. They just want to work that same job and get raises and get the benefits forever. And, those people don't live in the real world. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the real world, which is the private sector, and then the government world. And I'm sorry that you've gotten accustomed to this belief system that isn't based on reality. It's time for you to adjust your reality. So my heart does go out to people who are losing their jobs that work for the government, just like it does people who lose their jobs in the private sector. But unfortunately, it's a part of life. I'm not going to shed a tear and cry for you. It sucks. What do you want me to say? That's it. It sucks. But we're paying your salary, and that's life. That's life. Do you hear about Trump and these $5 million, I don't know what he's calling them by right now, but these gold visas or whatever? So people that are rich can basically buy a green card if they're going to create a certain amount of jobs here and so on and so forth. And obviously they have to be millionaires. So they're creating work for Americans. And we don't have time to get into all of it. There are certainly aspects of it that you could question and say, there could be problems here related certainly to allegiance to America and so on and so forth. But I love this because Donald Trump's thinking out of the box. And here's the thing I'll say as well. Everyone knows we have $36 trillion in debt. It's a huge problem. And Trump's solution is getting other people to pay for the debt, not you and me. Right? Because you realize that you and I, every individual American's on the hook for like $120,000. That's what we owe to pay off the debt individually, not as a family, individually. And Donald Trump's out there saying, how do I pay off this debt and have other people pay it? Not American citizens. And I love that. And he's exactly right. Over time, okay, you get enough of these people that pay $5 million a year to come here and they get a green card and they create jobs here. That pays off the debt. He's looking at tariffs, paying off the debt. I love that mentality. I love that attitude. He's looking out for you. You cannot question the fact that Donald Trump is looking out for you and the American people. And it's just so refreshing. All right, I want to tell you about Ashish Kumar Jha. You heard me talk about this last couple episodes. Former Biden administration COVID-19 response coordinator recently gave a chilling speech at the University of Michigan School of Public Health. Jha warned of a new age of pandemics fueled by bioweapons development and natural threats. He called for massive investments in vaccines against pathogens that don't exist yet and urged a war against so-called misinformation. Who's working on these bioweapons? How many labs are there globally? Like in Ukraine. Yes, Trump got the win, but evil's still lurking out there. You know it. Being prepared is still the best defense. The wellness company's Contagion Emergency Kit, engineered by Dr. Peter McCullough, and his medical board includes 5 critical life-saving medications like ivermectin, Tamiflu, a nebulizer, and hydroxychloroquine. Every household can now have access to these hard-to-get medications, minus the red tape. Head to dailycloudhealth.com. Use code DailyClout to save $32 off plus free shipping. That's dailycloudhealth.com. Use code DailyClout. By the way, I'm looking at myself in this thing and it's ridiculous. You know, I think that there's some new thing on here where it like touches up the appearance. I look like one of those Trump administration, officials that wore makeup or something like that. Anyway, it's terrible. We'll get all this stuff ironed out. We'll get this stuff ironed out. No excuses for this kind of stuff. Did you hear about Gavin Newsom? Just to end things with retardery. So this guy has burned down literally the state of California. It's a dumpster fire. It's totally destroyed. And now he's starting a podcast. That's right. The governor of California has time and effort to do a podcast now. I mean, I'm sorry. That is so offensive and disgusting to me. Like, that's what he's going to do. He's going to start up. I mean, are you not the governor of California? These people are not serious people. That's the point. If he has time to do a podcast, then he's doing something wrong in the state. Or, if he was going to start a podcast, you'd assume that the state was perfect and he had time to do it. And of course, this is one of the worst states in the country. It's totally destroyed. Totally destroyed. And yet he's going to now focus his time and efforts on a podcast. I mean, this guy's got to go. I mean, the hubris here. I mean, they do not care about any kind of optics whatsoever. I've never seen anything like it in my life. Anyway, that's all we have time for today. We'll catch up next week. I'm sure there'll be plenty of developments. This is Jerome, your Millennial Minister of Truth. God bless you all. And until next time.